Well folks, I hope yous are all keeping well and you had a good Christmas and New Year's. Sorry you haven't seen too many videos uploaded recently, but I've been taking a little break from YouTube. But I've still been hunting and filming where I can. Which brings me to this video, which is really just me using up odd bits and pieces that was left over from 2022. A couple of hunts that didn't really go to plan, as well as other wee snips and bits. This particular footage is from a morning back in April, where I decided to try and bait some hooded crows down to the rimfire using a dead rabbit on a farm that was well into its lambing season. I set the little pop-up hide that I use in a little laneway between an overgrown hedge and the back of a chicken house, looking through a gateway which I left open, as at the time I believed there only was 1 or 2 sheep in the field, which shouldn't have caused any problems. This morning I brought my little 1022 custom 2.2 rimfire using Winchester subsonics and fit it out with a Tactacam 5.0 and FTS unit to film through the scope. Now, it wasn't long before a hooded crow appeared, but I never seen it land, as it must have dropped into the field about 100 yards away out of camera shot and then walked its way into the bait. A relatively easy shot at 50 yards and the first one in the bag. Now this was the point where the morning started to go a little pear-shaped, as I suddenly realised that there wasn't just sheep in this field, but actually cows with calves, which must have been bedded down in one of the side fields out of sight when I looked this morning. Now if you ask somebody who works with sheep, they'll probably tell you that they'd rather squeeze through a tight hole in a hedge than walk through an open gateway. Cattle, though, are a totally different animal and are a lot more curious than sheep, and will find an open gateway very irresistible, something I was about to find out very quickly.
Oh dear, this is not good. Yeah, they're big shaggy. Not the closest gate.
Yeah, you can imagine my surprise when I looked up and seen that big Highland cow heading towards me with a set of horns on it like a forklift. Plus, I didn't know what sort of temperament it was, or how it would react to me popping out of that hide all of a sudden. All I knew was I needed to close that gate in a hurry. Thankfully though, it was a gentle big thing, which moved on shortly after. After a while though, the magpies started to take an interest in the dead rabbit, but I found I had a few more problems. Not only the gate I had to shut was sort of in my road, but also the sheep that were in the field decided to take up residence in my particular corner. Now, I do get the odd comment criticising me for not shooting the magpies. Believe me, I shoot plenty of magpies around the cattle houses. But here the farmer has asked me to concentrate on the hooded crows in the lambing fields. And I know for a fact that there's probably a hooded crow or two sitting in the distance watching the magpies for any sign of danger. So if I shoot one of the magpies in front of it, there's a good chance it'll be tipped off and won't come anywhere near the bait. So I just let the magpies be and use them sort of like decoys. Not that they stayed around for too long, as something else seemed to spook them. Maybe they saw a bird of prey in the distance, I don't know. Thankfully though, after a while, all the commotion the magpies were making finally attracted a hooded crow down, which promptly hopped in behind one of the uprights to the gate before finally flying off again. Moments later though, it came back with a second crow. But the two of them seemed very uneasy and didn't stick around for long. I'm pretty well hidden, but I'm wondering if it was a mistake leaving that crow I shot this morning lying out there and not setting it up as a decoy. But with all the commotion going on, one of the crows finally landed long enough for me to get a shot at it. Only for me to totally miss it. I did get a feather or two, but the bird flew off far too strongly to be mortally wounded. To say I was annoyed with myself would be a bit of an understatement. So when the birds moved off and things quietened down a bit, I decided to take a practice shot at the dead crow that was lying. And sure enough, the bullet did seem to hit slightly to the right. Not wanting to admit defeat just yet though, I decided to set a hooded crow I had with me up as a decoy, hoping to bring the crows back again. But between the livestock migrating down to this end of the field, sort of getting in the road, and the farmer charging in the quad thinking he was going to save a lamb from a marauding crow, only to realise it was my decoys, I decided it was probably best to call it quits and set up in a better place another day. But don't go away just yet, folks. There's still more to come. Now, this hunt is filmed on the same piece of ground that I shot the 10 hooded crows and a magpie for the Christmas special. But I haven't been having anywhere near as much success as that since. And even in fact over the Christmas holidays I came up here I think 3 times. The first time I got fogged out, the second time I think I got rained off, and this was the only morning I actually had any sort of success, if you could call it that. Though it is one of the few mornings I've been up here and set up before it actually has got light. It had been bitterly cold the night before, so everything was coated in a white glistening frost this morning. I also decided to set out a dead magpie as a decoy, instead of my usual dead crow, as I honestly think the crows were starting to recognise the setup, so decided to change things up a little to see if it would change my luck. I've brought my usual CZ 527 Varmint, chambered in 17 Hornet, using hand loads with a 20 grain VMAX bullet. The scope I have on it is a Meopta 4-16 by 44 tactical, which I fitted the Tactacam 5.0 and FTS unit to film through the scope, and the moderator is a Wildcat Panther. And this is what my setup looked like about 70 to 80 yards away once it got light enough for the camera. And this is what it looked like about half an hour later. Yep, fogged out again. Though, as you'll see in the sped up footage, the fog actually lifted again in about 5 to 10 minutes time, but it kept coming in and out again throughout the morning. Now, by this stage I'd probably been sitting the best part of 2 hours, and even though I could hear hooded crows clearly in the valley behind me, nothing would come up into this field or anywhere close to my decoy or bait. So I decided to take a hooded crow that I had brought with me and set it up as a decoy to see if I might be able to tempt them up into this field and get a shot at them. And yes, for those who are about to ask, I did try and hide my footprints as best as possible by using those gates and the wall to make my way back to the hide. And, would you believe it, within minutes there was a couple of hooded crows sitting in tall beech trees to my left hand side. I couldn't see them, but I could definitely hear them. Though it did take some time before one of them finally plucked up the courage to land in the little tree right beside my setup. Not what I would call a safe shot for a centerfire. Thankfully though, it didn't take too long before it decided to land on the ground. Oh, thought he was away there. It somehow managed to get 5 yards, but by the time I reloaded, it was all over. Well, didn't do that well this morning. Really frosty this morning. Usually pretty good response from the crows when it's frosty. Came, set out a dead rabbit, and as you can see, it's quite a manky one. So I think that'll be staying here somewhere. I'll not be taking it home again. I'll use a fresh one next time. And I set out originally a dead magpie for a decoy, but nothing came near it, so I set a hooded crow out that I had with me, and within about 10 minutes a couple of crows took an interest in it, but it took a while before they actually landed. And I thankfully managed to shoot one, and even though I set it up as a decoy, the second one would not come down. It's become foggy on and off all morning. I don't think the crows like the fog, but the other crow landed in them beech trees somewhere down that anyway. I couldn't see it from the hide, and crowed, and it's done that 2 or 3 times, but it won't come towards the bait or the decoys for a safe shot. So I'm going to call it quits, because I think that fog's coming down for good now. And I'm absolutely foundered. My feet are like blocks of ice, so I'm looking forward to get home, hot shower, and a nice big hot cup of tea. But anyway folks, cheer back. A bit frustrating, but that's how it goes sometimes. And to round things off, how about some clips with a shotgun over a barley field? I honestly think I was shooting a little beyond my ability here in these next two shots, as the both of them I sure were at least 300 yards, but I just couldn't figure out what the wind was doing.
Nope.
And just to finish us off, what about another couple of hooded crows on the hill? Well folks, I hope you enjoyed that, and just to prove that not every outing ends up to be a total disaster, here's the end result of one of the first forays for 2023. Until next time, take care and look after yourselves, hey.